What up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Broadcast Hoops. It's been a minute. We were talking NBA for a little while, just playing around, but now we're encroaching on our real season, college basketball. I'm of course Jamal Murphy. Got my guy Chris Walker in the house, of course, former Villanova player, and that's why I got my Georgetown hat
You
on.
back to that Georgetown hat again, boy. You
you
saw.
know, you know Ed Cooley, the resurrection. We'll
He's
see.
gonna
We'll see
do
what
good.
happens.
He's gonna do
But
good.
I also got my Villanova when I was coaching at team camp. You
There
know
you
what I'm saying?
go. See, you smart. You smart. You smart. There you
So
go.
it's Big East. It's Big East, baby. That's what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? But
No doubt.
we're back, man. We're gonna talk college basketball. What's up? What you been up to, man?
Sweet spot, man. Listen, man, it's that time of year. My colleague at CBS, John Rothstein, he does a countdown. I think we're about 43 days away from the first college basketball games. I mean, it seemed like we just stopped March Madness not long ago, and here we are back again. Obviously, college football kicks it off. I'm a huge football fan, college football fan. Don't have a favorite team.
Okay,
But
okay.
I love college football, and obviously, I'm a Cowboy fan, and my baby's name is Dallas, so you already know
Wow,
in
wow.
that household.
Congrats. Wait, congrats. How old
Thank
is
you.
Dallas now?
Oh man, don't put me on the spot like that.
It's only a matter of days, I think.
It's a few weeks old, probably like
Okay.
maybe like 15, 16 days. So it's
Wow.
been a great addition to the family, man. So we're certainly happy.
Nah, congratulations. That's
Thank you,
beautiful.
thank you, thank
That's
you.
beautiful. So, talking college basketball or college sports, you're a college football guy also, but one of the big issues, and there are a few of them. We'll get to all of them, in this preseason when we talk to you next time. But the one we want to talk about today to start with is the transfer portal and
Ooh.
all the changes that's creating. Some good, some bad. I got kind of mixed feelings on it because I see kind of both sides of it. But what do you think? I haven't even talked to you about it. But what do you think?
Listen, man, been a part of college basketball for a better part of all of my life, all right? 30 years in and out of the game, coached 23 years, I want to say. And the transfer portal, just so people, let me just educate people. The transfer portal has always existed. We just have now given it a name and call it the portal, kind of like Star Trek, like they're beaming from one place to the other. Now, the way the rules used to be was that you would have to sit out, they called it do a year of residency. So what that would do is that would prohibit people, that would make them think twice about leaving because they would have to sit out a year and not play and then be eligible the next year after that. So a lot of kids would think twice, a lot of parents would think twice about actually going into what they call the transfer portal or becoming a transfer. There are also rules around transfers, academic restrictions, not necessarily restrictions, but regulations around whether you can transfer. They used to have 2-4-2-4. That, I mean, a bunch of different jargon that I don't want to go into. So there were things that precluded you from saying, I'm just going to leave.
Right.
Now, what has happened is this. Now, I call it player empowerment to a degree, but I
Right.
also call it fairness. Is that if you don't like something, and again, the old guard, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I used to be one of those guys, be like, tough it out, you're
Right.
soft. And if you
Right.
talk to some of the old timers, they'll be like, yeah, you never fight through anything. But at the end of the day, we're in a different world, right? We're in a
Right.
different world of instant gratification, social media, so forth and so on, where we want, shows instead of watching, a show for 30 minutes, we want 5 minutes of the best clips. That's just where we are. We have fast food, it's like fast food, McDonald's, no one sits at the kitchen table. It's now come to college basketball where now you do not have to sit out and do a year of residency. So kids now and parents, if something doesn't work out, they're like, you know what? I'm not rocking with this. I'm out.
Right.
And now it depends on what side of the fence you're on. You can say, oh, they don't tough things out. It isn't that. But we can now, and again, and we'll talk about this. Where you'll pivot to, okay, well, coaches do it. If they don't like something, they move until they get something that they like. So
Right.
why can't a kid do the same thing? Why are we holding the kid to standards that we don't hold the adults to, the coaches, the administrators, the conferences? You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So again, I didn't mean to go on that diatribe, but I'm just saying to really shape the transfer portal, it has created some chaos. But as everything, Jamal, when it starts off, it's always crazy, but it always idles down and finds a sweet spot of where it's supposed to be. And they're going to make legislation to make sure that happens.
Right. And I basically agree with all that because I like I said, I kind of see both sides of it. I am kind of an old school guy where I'm like where if my kid was playing, I would want him to be able to go through adversity, or I think I would, right? Because you never know once you're in the position, right? But you want the kid to go through adversity, be tough enough. You're not always going to get along with any coach you have, but that's not, that's part of growth and all that kind of stuff. But then, like you said, the coaches can leave anytime they want. There's a lot of money involved in the sport. So, why is only one side allowed to take advantage of better opportunities? Coaches leave. Coaches can leave at any time. So the player, just out of fairness, like you said, the coach should be able to do the same thing. The only thing then on the other side, to me, this has turned into it's so wide open. It's even worse. It's even more wide open than NBA free agency because at least an NBA player has a contract, right? They got a 3, 4, 5 year contract. It seems like the transfer portal is like every player has a 1 year deal, right? And they could just bounce, after 1 year.
There's risk averse there. You can bounce if you want. I had a kid once. I coached at Cal Berkeley, and then so for me, it speaks to other things, right? As an African American male, what education means in this country, being able to get a college scholarship.
Right.
That's always been the precipice of what parents have wanted.
Right.
Especially like my generation the generation before me, a lot of people that I know did not go to college. Certainly the ones before that didn't go,
right.
My grandmother's generation or whatever.
Right.
And so I'm like one of the first kids in my generation to graduate from college. Certainly all my kids after me and whatever, they were, because of, again, the way the world works and progress, a lot of them have the opportunities that we didn't have, right? I say that to say that I was at Cal Berkeley. I remember this particular kid. I said, son, and this is where honesty and truth comes in when you're talking about transfer portal. And it speaks to, again, and people may disagree with this, but it speaks to, race to me and what it means to be African American and having certain opportunities that were not afforded to us. And because we're good at sports, a lot of us are really good athletically. It gives us a chance to gain entry into some of these places
right.
that we were not able to get into,
right.
For whatever reasons. Forget
right.
about athletics, whatever reason. So I said, son, you're at Cal Berkeley. Why would you leave here? I in my personal opinion, let me ask you this. Do you think I want you to go to the NBA or not go to the NBA? Do you think I want to be on a private plane with you or not be on a private plane with you? Right. I want you to have everything possible. But in my conventional wisdom, you have zero chance of making it to the NBA. Here's what you have a better chance of doing. Getting a degree from Cal Berkeley and being the mayor of your city, being a doctor, being a lawyer, having an unbelievable lifestyle that you just don't see because it's never been seen in your generation or in your ecosystem.
Right.
So now it comes to him listening to me and trusting on the parents trusting. And you know what they do 9 times out of 10 or 9.9 times out of 10? They leave and they go to a school, and I'm just throwing the school out there. They go to Chris Walker State because they're like, I think I could be in the league and I want more playing time, and not keeping their eye on the long game, right. Focusing on the short game, right. When we know 0.0.0 have a chance of making it to the NBA and becoming a professional athlete. And so to me, and it speaks to a lot of the kids that look like us that right. are making those decisions.
I mean, we people that look like us dominate the game. Let's be
honest. Dominate the game, and we make. And the question is the decision making, Jamal.
Right.
What is driving the motivation? Is it the NBA? Again, I'm hard on the NBA. I blame the NBA because of their rules. They make you think certain things are so easy to grasp, and it's not. I blame social media, but at the end of the day, you have to blame the individuals. You have to. Again, you can't legislate morality. Right. And my thing is these kids, these parents, and so many things look like we can just grasp it. You know what I'm saying? That's what, the escapism is. Well, I played good and I did this and I scored this on this person and I should have this and I should have that. And at the end of the day, there's only 500 spots, Jamal, in the
right.
NBA.
Right.
There's only 40 or make 43, a little bit under 4,500 college basketball scholarships, right? Average of 3 per year. And so now you put people in the situation where, Jamal, and you've seen this before, and you know, obviously when you work with Bill Rhoden and $40 million slaves, it's really 100 million. It's really 40 million slaves. Not $40 million. It's 40 million slaves out there
Right.
because of the mentality of the way they think something's attainable. And unfortunately, you and I, who are on the other side on the media, we know the numbers. But I say it all the time: people that look like us, we're the worst mathematicians. We think the numbers mean nothing, and God is going to help us overcome everything. But sometimes you got to know when God is listening to you. God may be saying, "Hey, man, you got this scholarship. You're not going to be a pro. But guess what? If you take what you get from the University of Wisconsin, you can now become X, Y, and Z and be a state senator and go back in your community and be a doctor, a lawyer, a businessman, finance." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we look at it one way. It's
Right.
either pro sports or bust.
Right.
And so guess what we do? Transfer, 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 transfer
Right.
until we find a spot that we can do it. And all they've done by taking away the year of residency, which I am agreeing with, is now made, now I want to say made it easier, because it's never easy to leave one place and adjust to another. But they believe that, well, I just need a new surrounding. I know I only play 1 minute here, but if I go there, yeah, I say, well, hold on, son. If you can only play 1 minute here, look, we can talk about politics, whatever. How are you going to play with LeBron if you can't beat these dudes out who have no chance of playing in the NBA,
Right.
right? How make that make sense to me? And you're getting an $80,000 a year scholarship that you could never pay for.
Right. No, right. No, right. No, I hear you. And it's a, you know, as far as the players thinking or the student athletes thinking, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because, you know, you, in order to make it, you got to believe you can make it, right? You can't say, you know, if you're trying to get to the NBA, you have to put 100% into it, you know, physically, mentally, to get there. So you kind of have to have that belief. But you know what we're saying is you still have to have you have to be smart
Common
about it
sense.
and have to have at least a backup plan or a co-plan. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of and these are kids. You know, we're calling them kids for a reason. You're 18, 19. You're not, your brain isn't fully formed. You don't really know, you know, really what is the best thing for you at that age. So my thing is, what is the portal doing? The portal, and I'm not saying that they're doing this on purpose, that the NCAA did this on purpose, of course, but for, you know, based on reality, the portal has made that situation worse, right? It's made it worse, where now kids are going to jump faster. They, you know, they can play right away. They think, you know, the grass is greener on the other side. They're going to do it. Now you throw NIL into it. You got, you know, you can make a little more money at a different school, so you're going to jump. My question is, do you think there need to be changes to it? And it looks like there are some changes coming down the line. I saw your boy Rothstein reported that the NCAA is, they are going to clamp down on the second transfer. They're going to allow kids to do it once, but if you leave the school the second time, you might have to sit out a year. So they are doing things like that. Do you agree with that at least?
Yes, yes. And listen, man, there needs to be some regulation on everything. Because if not, you can't just have just mass chaos. You know, it'll be anarchy. The first time transfer, I agree with. Hey, a kid, he doesn't like it, let him leave. Because here's the thing: I always, in sports or in basketball, we call it leave a spot, fill a spot. If you leave someone cutting into that spot, if the minute he leaves, their coach is recruiting somebody else. There's never going to be a shortage of players. You dig where I'm coming from? So
Right.
when a kid leaves an opportunity, yeah, the show is going to keep moving. It's just like when a guy gets injured, right? People think when someone gets injured, they shut down the season, close, you know, we cancel Christmas. Christmas doesn't get canceled because you lose your job. Your kid's still going to want something, going to look under the tree and hope there's some gifts there, right or wrong? So,
Right.
and that's just how it works. But the second time, so here's another thing that a little caveat there. They can actually graduate. So let's say a kid goes to school, he doesn't like it.
Right.
Now, usually his first, you know, again, the year of residency doesn't exist anymore, so they don't have to sit out. They leave. And 9 times out of 10, they may not like it either. The second place they go to, it could happen, because you got to realize, what is the reason why I'm transferring? You got to get into the psychology of why they're doing it, right? Some are doing it, like you said, possibly for NIL, possibly, and that's only transferring up, because no one transferred down for more money. You can only transfer up, and then that's only a few cases. Because again, you got to talk about numbers. It's only a few cases. We just highlight and showcase the one case that happens. They're like, oh my God, Shohei Ohtani, he's getting something. Okay, that's one dude out of every player in the MLB. It's not every player.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it's what you choose to focus on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so now you're in a situation where they do that. And now the kid is like, oh, wow. Here's what the bait and switch here. If you sat out before, let's say you didn't like it at a school, you leave. You sit out a year. You still have that year. You still have your eligibility, but you get 5 to play 4. That's what it comes down to. What that does academically is gives you a chance to get ahead.
Right.
So then you can get a graduate degree, or not a graduate. You can graduate early. So then guess what that triggers? Another transfer, because once you graduate, you can go wherever you want. So now you can transfer 2 times. The fact that they've eliminated that 1 year where you can just go right away, the kids don't have an opportunity to get that extra year ahead academically. Right. So that can trigger a second transfer where they won't be penalized for it. Now they put themselves in a situation where if you leave right away, you better be sure, because there's not a good chance you'll be able to graduate. Here's the other point I'll make. You used to be able to go to summer school. Before you started college, they would let you go to summer school both sessions. And they would pay for summer school every session. That allowed you to get ahead quicker. You know what coaches will start doing now? Slow that process down.
Why?
They'll slow it down. Because what will happen is you won't be able to transfer it. They want to keep you around. Unless they want to get rid of you, you can leave whenever you want. But on that second transfer, if you graduate, you can leave. But the reason to slow it down is so you can't graduate. If you can't graduate and they're not granting a second transfer, you have to do what? Stay. So listen, it ain't fun when a rabbit got the gun, but trust me, right? The dude that had the gun before is going to turn it back on the rabbit. He's going to find a way to get it back. You know, it's going to level out, you know, and that's just how it is in business. And because this is business, people got to understand, this is business. You can say kids, like you mentioned before about being 18, Jamal. You can have children at 18. You can die for your country at 18. Yes. You can get a W-2 at 18.
Yes.
So let me tell you something. College basketball, no one's feeling sorry for you. It's a $1 billion industry. Yep. You better understand the business and the psychology of it.
Yeah, and everybody's trying to get there. And like you said, a lot of it is, you know, kids kind of thinking that they are better than they are. They should be places where they have a long way to go. You sent me a stat, I think it was yesterday, from Transfer Portal for Playing Time. That's at TP4PT on Twitter. But they say 45% of players who entered the transfer portal after last season will not play this season. So that many kids have made, think they made a calculated decision to play somewhere else and are left out. Is that what that says?
So think about it this way. I don't know the exact numbers of transfers. So let's say there's 360 teams times 13 players. You could do the math real quick. I think it's like 45 or 100 or whatever. Let's say for even math, we'll say 4,000 players, even though it's a little bit more than that. If half of those kids transfer, that's 2,000, right? Half of them. That's insane. Now the number is 45% of the ones that transferred, not 45% of the 4,000. It's 45% of 2,000. So that means about 950 kids don't have anywhere to go to school. Right. Now, a lot of those are walk-ons, right? Some of those could be Division II players.
Okay.
But this is the breed of them making decisions. That's why I say, I love it's freedom. No one, again, there may be situations where the coach could run you off and create an uncomfortable situation. But if you choose, this is freedom of choice. You think that, hey, man, I'm going to test the market. The grass is greener. You could be left out because there are still high school kids out there. There's junior college players, right? And there's other transfers. So you could be without a scholarship. You could be. But again, this is the chance you take when you bet on yourself.
Right. It's a risk. It's a risk.
It's a risk. And here's the thing, Jamal. Again, I referenced this story earlier. You're leaving Cal Berkeley?
Right.
You're leaving where? You're leaving Cal Poly, great education. Doesn't seem on the basketball front a great school. You're going to leave Pepperdine to go where? To do what? And then be without a scholarship and then blame the world. Because once you put yourself in that system, in that ecosystem, you have no control anymore. You know what I mean? Bird in the hand. Again, I'm not saying stay somewhere with a toxic environment where the coach is treating you bad. But Jamal, when I went to Villanova, I'll never forget. There was a guy named Kenny Wilson that was ahead of me. And I was a high level player. I was an All-American, whatever you want, all the accolades you want to come with it. One of the best players in the country. I go to Villanova. This is the difference in the times. And I coach summer basketball for Adidas and Under Armour. And I coach in college. So I got a complete prism of how this thing goes. I never in my mind thought I'm going to play ahead of Kenny Wilson. Like, it never dawned on me that I'm going to play against the Georgetown Press when I'm fresh out of Millview High School in Houston, Texas. I said, I want to sit here and learn. I don't want to play against Sherman Douglas and Derek Colvin on CBS. Right. 40, 50,000 people to carry a dome. I'm going to sit here and not have Dwayne Bryan and Mark Tillman and Alonzo Mourning and Dikembe Mutombo and all those guys killing me from day one when I'm not even ready for that. Right. I'm willing to do. And Kenny's a senior who had just come off a Final Eight appearance against Mookie Blaylock. I'm good. I'm a watch. My turn will come.
Right.
In today's world, man, you give that recruiting pitch, they're on to the next, and you're off the list.
Right. So let me flip it from a coach's perspective. The transfer portal, you always hear coaches complain about it for the most part. But they're playing that game. Obviously, a coach hates to lose players, but they don't mind adding them. You know what I'm saying? So, but just in terms of being a coach, you've been in that situation. The game has changed, obviously, for all coaches now. How do you think they're adapting? What's the coach perspective on this?
It's adapt or die, man. I don't want to hear you, man. Stop complaining. Right. And when I tell coaches when they complain, I say, man, you're one of 360 people in the world that do what you do. Get the money back. Because the minute you leave, guess what? There's another dude that's going to step right in that seat. So no one cares. My old coach, Rolly Massimino, who just got his bench at the Hall of Fame, he should be in the Hall of Fame, which is ridiculous. That whole thing is a whole other world.
I agree with that.
But he said, he should always say this all the time. He says, Chris, there's 2 billion people in China that don't know or don't care what you're going through. So quit it. Right. Don't know and don't care. Right. People don't care about what you're saying about the transfer portal. You got to adapt or you die. And my thing is this, and you made a great point. As coaches will bellyache and complain about it, but in that room, you know what they have? A list.
Right.
Hey, man, this dude leaves. Listen, we're on 1-year contracts now. This is the way it works. And I'll say this, the transfer portal, people got to understand the National Basketball Coach, NABC, right? National Association of Basketball Coaches. They have to vote in legislation. The players can't vote this in.
Right.
The coaches did this. The administrators did this. It wasn't the players. That's when people say stuff about player power. I'm like, yeah, but they don't have any power. They can't vote in any rules. They can't vote in anything. It's like the Supreme Court. You can be mad about all you want. Once they rule, that's the law of the land. Right. It's the same thing here. They voted it in. The players are taking advantage of it. But the coaches know, hey, man, this dude is happy, but he could be leaving. We got to be looking at that transfer portal. We got to be ready to go. And the last point I'll make is this, contracts. Coaches now believe that they have to get older. 2 things that have contributed to this, Jamal. One was COVID.
Right.
COVID
extra year.
This.
Yep.
Along with, forget about the NIL, because everybody's not getting an NIL. That's a misnomer too. COVID and the change of the rule where they don't have to sit out, I think that coincided, has created some chaos that at some point will level out. But you have kids like a DeAndre Williams at Memphis, who's probably going to be 28 years old if they allow him to play. Yeah. COVID with waivers and COVID, and again, I get it. And we're almost cycling out of the COVID thing. But you have some kids going to play 6 and 7 years in college.
Yeah.
6 and 7 years in college.
And that's a big difference playing against a 28-year-old than a 21-year-old.
So to your point, you just mentioned about the coaches. They're like, well, hold on. Why would I go get a freshman who's 17 or 18 to play against a kid who's 26 years old, 24 years old? What chance do I have against those guys? Now, you made a good point about that. You referenced that Twitter article, but most of them transfer down.
Right.
But you know what that's done, Jamal? That strengthened the mid-level.
The mid-majors. Yep.
Where upsets ain't really upsets no more because, Duke may have a bunch of great freshmen, but they're playing against dudes at the YMCA.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're playing dudes at the park.
Yeah. And as far as, we talk about the players, the coaches. As a fan, The game is probably a better game right now because it's older. And it gives more teams a chance. It's not obviously Kentucky's been struggling, Duke has been struggling compared to what they were doing. Now it's opened up the field where if the coach puts in that grind,
You better play. You better show up.
gets those transfers. It's a whole new
But
ball
it's,
game.
it's not as like, for instance, Florida Atlantic. They had a couple transfers, not really many transfers.
That's true. That's true.
San Diego State, shall I say?
Right.
They were in the Final Four last year.
Right.
Matt Bradley, who I coached at Cal, he was a transfer. They transfer you, but they hadn't won a tournament game since 2015. The Mountain West hadn't won a tournament game in years. So what I'm saying is, as much as people saying transfers, UConn, who won a national championship, who were their best players? They had Tristan Newton, who's a transfer from ECU.
Right.
They had Cal Katera, who's a transfer from San Diego.
But they had the homegrown guys carrying.
But their best players were Sonogo, high school player. Andre Jackson, high school player. Donovan Klingon, high school player. Alex Caravan, high school player. Their best guys were high school players. And the shooter, I forget his name.
The shooter,
Lil Ray Allen, I call him Lil Ray.
Got drafted by the Pelicans. I'm just blanking on his name.
I can't remember his name right now. But another high school player.
Yeah.
So and then you look at the lottery picks in the NBA. Name one of them that's a transfer. They're all high school kids.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, you gotta there's a situation where they plug some leaks, and they certainly help certain teams. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, Kentucky had a team of transfers. When last time we talked about Kentucky?
Right. And they're gonna flip it this year. They got nothing but freshmen this year, so we'll see what happens.
Exactly. They got the number one class. So he's got back to what they were. Right. Because that's what built it. And again, you college coaches are fast followers. They're like, well, hold on, man. All these guys get these transfers. Now, again, I'm blaming it on COVID, because a guy like Providence and Ed Cooley, COVID, those guys getting that COVID year helped him win the first Big East championship in Providence history.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Being able to bring those guys back.
No, you're right. And coaches are adapting. We see it all over the country. They're not. They might be complaining, but no, they're adapting. Speaking of transfers, let's talk about. We've been boohooing the transfer portal a little bit, but hey, it's here. Let's talk about some of the guys that the big names that are transferring. I put together a quick 10-person list of impact transfers. Let me know what you think about these guys. I'm gonna run them off quick. Of course, the biggest one probably this year. Hunter Dickinson goes from Michigan to Kansas, averaged 19 and 9. What do you think about that?
Hunter, you should have went to Nova. I hope you're watching this. You should have played with your boy Justin Moore. I can't believe you let us down in Nova Nation. But that's okay, though, because we'll play you in the national championship when you're playing at Kansas. I think as a big time, again, Bill Self, Hall of Fame coach, Kansas, the way they win, the rate they win. Now, I'll say this. Arizona's in the Big 12 now. With the conference realignment, it might be a little bit different for Kansas now, but they've dominated that league, and getting Hunter Dickinson is huge for them.
Yeah, L.J. Cryer.
Come on, that's a little homie
from Baylor to Houston. 15 points per game, 42% from three. What difference is he big time to you, L.J. Cryer?
And again, I don't know all of the reasons why he left Baylor, but here's the thing. You talk about conference realignment or conference additions. The fact that, why wouldn't you want to play for Kelvin Sampson? I call him Unc Sampson. Why would you want to play for unprecedented success? Had Marcus, Spears. This is Marcus, what's his name? Not Marcus Spears, but had
Sasser.
Marcus Sasser. I got so many people's names in my head. But now Houston's in the Big 12. So him transferring, he went home. He's from Houston. Okay. So he can be around his people. I'm sure there's some NIL stuff that helped. But at the end of the day, Houston has first-rate facilities. They should have been in the Big 12 anyway. And now you get to play for a Hall of Fame coach, which Kelvin Sampson will be. Ain't nothing wrong with that. They sell it out every day. And I call it the Scott Street Bullies. This is going to be amazing. And now L.J. Cryer, like a Quentin Grimes, can now play some defense. He's a small guard. He's going to have some challenges whether he wants to get the NBA. But Baylor, showed they can get guys to the NBA.
Right.
So has the University of Houston, but going home, big time pickup, because they lost Tremont Mark, who went to Arkansas.
That's right. I'm gonna keep it in your home state. Max Abmas from Oral Robert. Abe Smith.
They call it. That was when I first got my job at CBS. Those are two things that I missed. Max A. Smith. It doesn't spell that way, but it's pronounced A. Smith.
Okay, A. Smith.
I got a picture. If I wish I'd have known, I'd have sent you the picture. You put it on the screen. Small, but deadly.
He goes from Oral Roberts to Texas.
from Dallas, from
Mhm.
Texas, right?
Okay.
Was one of those guys that people thought, was a really talented player, but whatever. And look what he did. Great success,
Yeah.
unprecedented. Oral Roberts helped Paul Mills get the Wichita State job. I mean, he's proven himself to be a really good player. He's a kid that's taken advantage of the transfer portal. And again, Texas had to fill some holes, so they lost some
Yes,
guys.
they did. Yes, they
But
did.
again, you get one of the best scorers in the country, and Texas was transfer you last year.
Right.
And they
Right.
won the Big 12 tournament. So
That's right.
now here there's an opportunity for them to get another player of that level, and we'll see, because they plug and play at Texas. Ronnie Terry, one of my good friends, has done a tremendous job, but Max Asen should be another good one. But there's a big difference, Jamal, in
That's
playing in
right.
Oral Roberts and playing in Moody, where the Austin, Texas, where the Longhorns play.
Yeah, we'll see if he can keep up that scoring average over 20, in the Big
That
12.
won't happen. Trust me, that won't happen. That won't happen.
Ryan Nemhard, Creighton
Oh, come
Gonzaga.
on. All he did was go and play where his brother played. I
Yep.
mean, he did a great job at Creighton. One of the best players there, was a player freshman of the year. Again, kids leave for whatever reason, probably thought he had a better opportunity. His brother, played at Gonzaga, went to Gonzaga, and they have a high-level profile. Gonzaga is a big-time university. Mark View's going to let those guys go. Hopefully it works out for him. But he was a very talented player at Creighton, but probably, saw there's a better opportunity for him to do something. And some kids just want to change their environment.
Right. No
I
question.
can't blame him from wanting to not be in was it
In
Omaha?
Nebraska,
But he
Omaha,
went to
Nebraska.
Spokane.
I
No
hear that.
respect Dan Dickow, my boy, but Spokane, Omaha.
How about this to your alma mater, Tyler Burton from Richmond and Nova,
Ooh.
averaged 19 and 7 at Richmond last year.
Listen, got a chance to be a star, the prototypical Villanova player, great kid, shoots it big, 3-and-D, guards many positions. He's tough, he rebounds, he's athletic. He could be the difference. I thought they were done recruiting. They brought TJ Bama, who's another good one, Hakeem Hicks, who came from Maryland. They, again, they plugged some holes for sure. I mean, Cam Whitmore is tough to leave and tough to lose, and Caleb Daniels was a very good player. But bringing these guys in, bringing Tyler Burton in is a huge help. They got plenty of talent at Villanova, and I got 2 words for you, right? And actually, it's 3 words. One from Arnold Schwarzenegger and one for myself. I'll be back, and I'll say this: we're back, Jamal. The Cats are back. So
I can believe it. I can believe it.
yeah.
Jordan Dingle, Penn to St. John's. I like this one.
Listen. Anybody going to play for Rick Pitino? I mean, again, there's a difference between Penn and St. John's, Ivy League. This kid's I think that's Dana Dingle's son from
Yes, it
New
is.
York. So
Yes,
he's very.
average 23 at Penn. So
I
he's
mean, he
lighting
gave
it up.
all over the fits. I mean, he's a very good player. But again, you're talking about fitting all this talent. St. John's, I think, got about 10 transfers, putting all this talent together. Obviously, Penn is not the Big East,
Correct.
right? Longer athletes, bigger athletes, fast, the whole 9. Of course, not going to score 23. I'm not trying to, Dano, don't be mad at me. The odds are, I'm a betting guy. The odds are, heck no, it's not going to happen. So the question is, can he take his talents and average about 10 points a game, play crazy, ridiculous defense like Rick is going to demand? And listen, let me tell you something. Hey, the show is back in Madison Square Garden.
It's back. It's back. It's back.
It is back. Big East is on fire right now.
Oh man, and then the Garden gonna be on fire.
Oh,
On fire.
God,
So that's a great thing.
All those old St. John's guys.
When that building, know that building. When that building's on fire, there ain't nothing better than that.
Yeah, but guys like yourself who New Yorkers got the G hat, you could be wearing the Red Storm hat in a second. I mean, so I don't even know why you've been wearing that hat.
I don't know. Here's a little controversial one for some reasons. Caleb Love, UNC to Arizona, struggles. He put up points, 17 a game, but wasn't the most efficient, obviously. But now going to Arizona, trying to resurrect his career. What do you think?
Listen, he transferred to Michigan and played for Jawan, and then he went to Arizona
and couldn't get in.
That's what it was, huh?
Admissions. There was some sort of situation with his credits transferring over. Michigan is a stickler, I guess.
HIPAA law. You're violating HIPAA law, Jamal.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I don't know. Reportedly.
There you go. Reportedly, you're the writer here, so you should know that.
Right.
But this is a talented scorer, a very talented scorer. Didn't work out. Those guys at Carolina, man, that was crazy what was going on. They had way too much talent.
Oh,
not to besmirch Hubert. I mean, it was just those expectations. They struggled both years. Yeah, they made a run in the NCAA tournament which we can't put aside. But it's just struggleville with Carolina's expectations. I hope Hubert can lasso those expectations in to get these guys to play. But Caleb Love is talented. The question is he a me player or a we player? Because he's certainly great, just playing by himself. But unfortunately, as Larry Brown showed Allen Iverson, if I give you the ball, you can't throw it to yourself. You can't dribble through 5 people, and you can't play defense by yourself. And Caleb Love, who's very talented, needs to start showing some love to the other players on the floor. And he's in an excellent program now, Arizona. But there's a bunch of talent there too. He's certainly going to be a helper. Tommy Lloyd's going to maybe have his hands full. He did a good job with Courtney Ramey last year, who transferred from Texas. So we'll see what he can do with Caleb Love.
We'll see. He's been a me player rather than a we player so far, so hopefully he can change that around. Arthur Kaluma, Creighton to K-State.
Another one. As DJ Khaled say, another one. Leaving Creighton. Creighton was picked to go to the Final Four. They just lost 2 primary players. Arthur Kaluma is certainly talented and an elite scorer. Now, I'm going to back up, put it in reverse. He's going to play for my boy Jerome Tang.
Love Tang. Shout out to the Trinidadians out there. Shout out to the West Indians. You know what I'm saying? We ain't got many of them in the coaching ranks, so we gotta shout them out.
Jerome Tang, one of the greatest human beings on this earth. You saw what happened with Johnson and what's the little guy from New York?
Marquise Noel.
That's my girl's name, Noel. So Marquise Noel, she loved that little player. So they had 2 third-team All-Americans they have to replace. 2 third-team All-Americans. Yeah. And so bringing Kaluma in definitely helps and keep them moving forward. And, speaking of transfers, certain schools, and I know Jerome Tang, been at Baylor, tremendous recruiter forever, and coach. Now we know he's a great coach. Right. Certain schools are going to be attractive to transfers. And I think K-State is always going to be one of those places, particularly with Jerome Tang there.
No doubt. Shout out to Tang. Khalif Battle, Temple to Arkansas. He's one of my favorites. I love what he did at Temple, 18 points per game. Will that translate to Arkansas?
It very well could. But the one thing about Musselman, he just loads them up, man. He just brings in player after player, and somehow, now they struggled during the season last year. I think they finished like 8th in the SEC. But again, when tournament time comes around, Musselman kicks it up. But he's been adept at bringing in transfers his whole career. He did it at Nevada. He's doing it at Arkansas. I don't think he had, the freshmen that left this year, the two kids, Black and Jordan Walsh that left for the NBA.
Got drafted.
Black was a lottery pick, but he, I think that he's always going to be a transfer guy. He's comfortable coaching grown men. He's an NBA coach coaching in college. I've seen his practices. He's done a tremendous job the way he engineers what's going on in Fayetteville. And I'm telling you right now, Khalif Battle, I can see that. Now, I hope it's not at, my boy Tremont Marks at his detriment, but I hope they can both coexist. But Khalif Battle is a talented player, and we'll see what happens in the SEC.
And like you said, Musselman can put talent together. They'll all be able to eat. And then last, Aaron Estrada from Hofstra with Speedy, right? Speedy Claxton's over there. Yeah, he's going to Bama. And from what I've heard early talk says he's looking really good out there.
Looking good as he wants. He's gonna be playing against with an F athletes. Okay, this is not the CAA.
True. So you think he'll be just okay?
I'm just saying they lose Javon Kennerly. He goes to Memphis. Yeah. They want to replace him. Listen, man. Again, I say this with the utmost respect for players. The coaches are good. They need to bring in. If you're Nate Oates, you're like, okay, I can get this kid who's player of the year in this league, or I can take a freshman. Right. I'm taking this guy. I'm going to hedge my bet that this kid can at least be a solid player. Right. Now, is he going to go out there and do what Sule Boom did at Xavier? I don't know, but it could happen.
It's possible. It
could happen. Right. And so you think about what chances you have of some guy going in and having an amazing year with the collection of talent around him. Estrada may have a chance to do that because Bama is always going to be good. They're always going to get players. He's done a great job of recruiting, so that's a big major coup for them. Could be a reason why Javon Kennedy left. But bottom line is that when you transfer from the bottom to the top, right? It's all about analytics. What are the numbers that this guy? Because there's also defense too. Like you
Right.
also got to play defense against guys that are better and taller and stronger. You're playing against Kentucky, instead of playing against UNC Wilmington.
Wilmington. Yep. Yep.
Instead of playing against playing against Florida instead of playing against UNC Wilmington, I don't know if Delaware's in their league, but the bottom line is it's a very, very different experience, and they all think at the beginning. I always say this, Jamal: no one jumps the broom thinking it's not going to work out, right? They
True that.
all believe.
Very true. Very true. Very true. Well, that's a wrap for us today.
Yes, man, great show, man.
We got a lot in. We'll be back with you guys next week. We'll talk more college basketball stuff. NIL, we didn't even get into.
I talk about that bread. NIL, we got to talk about that bread.
NIL, bro, realignment.
Oh,
all kinds of stuff to talk about. But we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us. Keep supporting. Until then, peace.
Peace out.